All right, today we're going to dive into something really fascinating called the Ouroboros Effect. Now, this might sound a bit mythical, but it's actually about a deep hidden flaw in how we use AI, and it's something you've probably already run into without even knowing it.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever asked an AI a question and just gotten back the perfect answer? You know the feeling, right? It's just so clear, super confident. It feels totally complete. Like that's it. That's the final word. It's this perfectly packaged little piece of knowledge that just, bam, solves your query in an instant.
Well, here's the kicker. According to the research we're breaking down today, that's the problem. That perfect, simple, satisfying answer, it's actually kind of a trap, and a dangerous one at that. Okay, so let's get into what that really means by looking at AI's perfect, simple answers. To do that, the paper we're drawing from gives us a fantastic real-world example, all starting with a simple question about an ancient people, the Guanche.
So if you go and ask an AI, hey, who are the Guanche people? You'll likely get the answer you see there on the left. It's a neat, tidy story. Indigenous people from North Africa got some help from the Romans to get where they were going. The paper calls this a closure event. Basically, it's so complete sounding that you stop asking questions. But here's the thing. The reality over on the right is so much messier and, frankly, way more interesting. The latest genetic and linguistic evidence? It points to a much earlier migration, totally independent of the Romans. So where did that Roman story come from? Well, it was a convenient narrative that kind of stuck around from colonial times. A bias that suggested, indigenous people couldn't have managed such a journey on their own. So the simple AI answer isn't just missing a few details, it's actively covering up the real, more complex story.
And this isn't just about the Guanche people, right? This example points to a much bigger systematic problem, a process that actually creates a specific kind of blindness. The paper gives this phenomenon a really powerful name, the Ouroboros of ignorance. They call it artificial ignorance. And what this means is the systematic production of these super confident, simplified, consensus-based answers from AI. But here's the part that really got me. Check out that last line. This is not a bug. It's not a glitch in the system. The paper argues it's an emergent property. It's an unavoidable consequence of how these things are built.
So, okay, how does this actually happen? Well, think of it like a pressure cooker. There are three big pressures at play. First, there's the push for helpfulness. The AI wants to give you a quick, simple answer that closes the loop. Then there's safety. This pushes it towards the most uncontroversial, middle-of-the-road consensus views. And finally, accuracy, which makes it lean on the most mainstream, well-cited sources. Now, each of these sounds good on its own, right? We want helpful, safe, accurate AI. But when you combine them, they systematically squeeze out everything else. All the nuance, all the dissenting opinions, all the beautiful complexity gets lost.
And this is where it gets really dangerous, because it creates this feedback loop. The AI spits out a simplified answer. People then use that answer. It gets cited, it gets put into new blog posts and articles, and guess what? All that new content becomes the training data for the next generation of AI. And that's the Ouroboros, the ancient symbol of the snake eating its own tail. It's this closed, self-consuming loop where knowledge gets simpler and simpler and simpler over time.
Okay, so that sounds pretty bleak. But don't worry, the paper doesn't just leave us there. It argues there is a way to break this cycle. If the Ouroboros is the problem, then the solution, the antidote, is what it calls unlocking the knowledge spiral. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. There are two ways to engage with AI. On the left, you've got the Ouroboros, or oracle mode. This is how most of us use it, right? You ask a question, it gives you an answer, and boom, closure. The conversation's over. It's a dead end. But on the right, you have the spiral, or bilateral mode, and this is a total game changer. Here, the AI's answer isn't the end of the road, it's the start of the journey. You take that answer and you push back on it, you ask a deeper question, and that creates this amazing open-ended spiral of real discovery. And this isn't just a theory. The author of the paper actually did this. They had an 8-hour conversation with an AI, starting with that simple question about the Guanche people. And it just spiraled from there. Look at the table. They started by questioning the topic itself, which revealed that colonial bias. Then they questioned the method. Okay, why did that bias stick around for so long? And that led to a huge insight. Our frameworks, our ways of thinking, actually produce their own evidence. And then finally, they applied that idea to a completely different field, and it totally dissolved this long-standing scientific puzzle called the sapiens paradox.
So what does that mean? The crucial takeaway is this. The sapient paradox, this big mystery of why it took modern humans like 100,000 years to suddenly develop art and complex culture. It wasn't a real paradox at all. It was an illusion, created by the assumptions the researchers were bringing to the table. The problem was never in the data. It was in the framework, the lens they were using to interpret the data. And the wild thing is, it took this deep, spiraling conversation with an AI to finally make that lens visible.
All right, this all leads to the real philosophical heart of the paper's argument. It's this idea that AI isn't just good or bad. It's something much more complicated. It's both a medicine and a poison.
And to explain this, the paper brings up this ancient Greek concept called the pharmakon. Think of it like a drug. A pharmakon is a substance that can be a cure in one dose and a poison in another. It's not inherently one or the other. Its effect is determined entirely by how you use it, the dose, the context, the intention.
And honestly, that is the perfect metaphor for AI, isn't it? The very same technology can be a poison, or it can be a medicine. Oracle mode, that's the poison. Bilateral mode, that's the medicine.
So let's talk about the poison phase. When we use AI as an oracle, it just scales up that artificial ignorance we were talking about. It takes complex ideas and flattens them out. It makes the real, messy, exciting frontiers of knowledge almost invisible. And maybe worst of all, it gives us the illusion that we understand something, which is way more dangerous than just admitting you don't know.
But now, the medicine phase. This is where it gets really exciting. When you use AI as a thinking partner, it offers something revolutionary. It can act like a mirror, helping us see the hidden frameworks and biases in our own thinking. And think about this. It has zero ego. It doesn't care about being right. It'll keep digging into a topic with you for hours and never get tired. And it can push back in your most cherished ideas without any of the social risk that comes with challenging a friend or a coworker.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, this is the part where the paper's conclusion turns the spotlight right back around onto us. The choice is yours.
And here's the reality check. The paper estimates that right now, a staggering 95% of our interactions with AI are in that poisonous oracle mode. Only a tiny 5% are the deep, bilateral mode conversations, the medicine. We are by a huge margin choosing the easy path that leads to artificial ignorance.
And that brings us to what I think is the most powerful line in the whole paper. The technology is not the variable. We are. This isn't about waiting for some smarter, better AI to come along and fix things. The technology we have right now can be the problem or it can be the solution. The variable, the thing that decides which one it is, isn't the code. It's us. It's our mindset, our curiosity, and our willingness to push past those easy, satisfying answers.
So I'll leave you with this final, critical question. The next time you open up a chat with an AI, what are you going to do? Are you going to ask for that simple, complete answer and feed the Ouroboros? Or are you going to take that first answer and use it as a launchpad to start a deep, challenging, and truly mind-blowing spiral? The choice is yours, but the future of how we learn and discover things might just hang in the balance.